All right, and let's get started with the March 24th Minerva Park Legislative Committee meeting. In attendance, we have councilpersons Camera and Koss. We also have Mayor Hughes, Village Planner Eric Fisher, Leah Klein, our financial assistant, and Barb, the village assistant. Okay, Eric, before we get into tonight's stuff, I'm going to ask you the same thing I always ask you. Where are we on those flags?
So just to update everyone, I talked to Jesse the other day. He's not quite there on the flags, and obviously we have a scheduled meeting with staff and council members such as yourself on Monday concerning the beginning of the code rewrite. It's kind of a kickoff meeting. He has not had time to get to specific items on the flags. So I don't have anything new for this evening other than your current legislation. Happy to take any questions about anything else or new or old.
Just thought I'd check. And for the record, since people are here, I will not be at Monday's meeting as I will be out of state. I believe that meeting is in person, correct?
That is correct. It's not a big deal. It was yourself, council, just to keep ourselves under a quorum point. Chairman of the P&Z, yourself, and Councilman, excuse me, Councilman Wolf was also invited to that. So that way we can just kind of kick it off with everyone involved and then go from there. And we'll proceed with the first major introduction of it to P&Z on their first meeting, and then discuss it with council on the April meeting on Saturday.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's go through all the hoops and ballet dance of tonight's legislative agenda here. Starting with Ordinance 04-2022. These are supplemental appropriations, second reading, intent to waive the third. There would be no need for an emergency passage since it's an appropriation. There is quite a list. I really love whoever is putting the little Post-it notes on these. I love that. Thank you, Leah. So I can actually see what all of these things are, but I know you're here for a reason. So how about you gab on about them?
Sure. The first one coming out of or going into the general fund, that is just the increase with the Columbus Fire contract. The second one, the solicitor fees, that 35,000, that's obviously for the code rewrite. The American Rescue Plan Act, that is the grant we received. And we had intended on using that for the 2021 storm sewer project. And then also below that, that is also both of those under storm sewer maintenance. Those are all for the 2021 storm sewer projects. The contractual services is for Mike Flickinger, and then the capital outlay is for the DJX construction company. And then the parkland capital.
Just for clarity. So
Sure.
The second line, the 30 and the 208,000, that's money from us that we are putting into an account for the sewers. The 69,000 is grant money that we're putting into the same account for the sewers.
We are just appropriating it because we plan on using it towards the sewers. The 69,000, yeah.
Gotcha. But the 69,000, that's money from American Rescue Grant. The
Yes.
238 total, that's money that we had in the budget anyway. And now we're saying, okay, we knew we were going to have to spend it on this, but we need to put it into the right place so it can be used.
Correct.
Awesome. I know I get confused on that, and we have some newer council members who might not follow along this.
Yep, nope, that's exactly right. The Parkland Capital Improvement, that is for the that's for the park shelter. Should we get that done this year? So fingers crossed.
And of course, as you mentioned, that just what this does is put that money out of the general fund into those accounts so that if we get someone to build us a shelter, it's there and is ready to be spent.
That one is actually the Parkland Capital. It's its own fund. It's not the general fund.
Okay,
But where we are taking 100,000 of that out of that fund into an appropriation account, so we can use it should we need to this year.
awesome. Thank you for the clarification on that.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else with any questions on 20? I know I had all of them, but does anyone else have questions, I guess, on 04/2022? Okay, is there anyone, because we can have the debate now, who would be against, what's the reason for waiving the third reading? How about that? There's the question.
Oh, yes. Well, we are going to have some 2021 sewer project invoices coming in. So we need to have the money there so we can go ahead and pay those invoices.
Okay, and if we made them wait, however long it would be, 2 weeks? I mean, just the questions, if we made them wait 2 weeks until we got our next reading in, would that be a serious problem? Would that be just inconvenience for them and them being huffy? Or would that be like, hey, we're not gonna keep going if you're not paying?
Just as an FYI, it's actually 3 weeks, just so you know.
Okay.
So then you could potentially start getting into late things and all that good stuff. And I'm not trying to speak for Leah, but I just wanted to point out that the next meeting is not until April 14th.
I think they wanted to start, based on the last communication, they wanted to start April 14th, so we got to pay them ahead of time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that one's one of them. When they went, the East Shore Court project, they already cut the trees. This is one of the ones that was delayed from March to June. They had already done step one before they found out that the pipe wasn't going to be there. So this is one of those appropriations that honestly, I should have remembered that we should have appropriated it at the same time that we actually passed the legislation for it. But with this being part of the grant, it's a little different. So it's getting the grant money in there to cover it instead of money from somewhere else.
Loving that explanation is on file and on record. Okay, we're up to 05/2022.
Mark, I think nobody else is willing to speak up, but for some reason it sounds perfect sometimes and then it's muffled sometimes.
Be very
Okay.
specific.
There you
I
go.
have a very annoying, very directional mic.
You
on
sound
my-
perfect
on
now.
my- I have a
Yeah.
very titsy directional mic on my,
Just don't turn your head, ever.
yeah,
Just
if I'm not staring
don't turn
directly
your head.
down the barrel, it'll lose me. All right, salary ranges, second reading, intent to waive third and pass as an emergency. I believe the big thing for this was our one officer, we're changing just one of the little salary positions, correct, for our one officer who used to be a sergeant and is now going to be a patrol officer instead, and we need to bump the cap a bit.
So it actually changes the sergeant and the sergeant and the patrol. The bigger reason that we're trying to get this done is we also have Jeff Wilczek starting on April 4th. And that actually adjusts the position names. I think those are in red as well. If I'm not staring at it. But the bigger things are not just the bigger things, but there's multiple things on here that are also just as important. Jeff Wilczek's position is actually part-time fiscal officer. Leah is, hers is
Assistant.
adjusting as well.
Multiple.
Yeah, there's multiple
hats.
things on there, but a big part is going to be Jeff Wilczek starts on April 4th as well.
Mhm.
And his actual position is being changed to, that position is being changed to part-time fiscal officer.
I will say on the copy in the packet I'm looking to, nothing is highlighted in red.
Not in red.
Yeah, the
Yeah, it's
red
all-
copies. The red copies are not in there this time. I can email them to you all right now if you'd like.
That way you guys have it. But I did want to point out that that's the other, there's several other things on there. But the Jeff Wilczek thing I know for sure was one of the ones that was updated. Well, I guess it's not him specifically, but that position. So that was the reason for the waiving of the readings as well. So he starts on April 4th. The next meeting is not until April 14th. And then we also have the officer that will be adjusting before April 14th as well, the sergeant versus, so there's going to be a bunch of those changes will take effect before the 14th if we're able. And I do believe that was the other thing that's changed in there is it actually does say to take effect beginning on, I think we used March 27th as the date because our sergeant is switching and all of that on March 27th. I think that was the other line, Leah, that was actually added in there for it to take effect on March 27th. And the reason we picked March 27th is that was the pay, also the pay period, which makes the fiscal officer's job much easier as well, instead of changing it in the middle of a work week.
And yes, it is effective March 27th is what it says in there.
Yeah, so that was the plan on that. So I'll see if she can send out those, but that's the gist of that one. That's why we're waiving the readings because we have multiple things that are going to happen before the 14th of April.
Okay, questions or comments for admin on that? Anybody?
Yeah, I have a question. I just want to clarify
Yes.
that when we say hourly rates from and to, that's the range of the rates, and we're not changing them from one to the other, right?
Correct.
Okay. That's
And
what I thought. I just wanted to make sure it was clear.
And sometimes, I mean, I'll be the first to open up the can of worms, but you know, on some of these, we're going to come back to you on January because as you know, we're getting to the reason we're doing this is because we have an officer that's hitting it. So guess what? He's going to hit it again next year.
Right.
So, but we don't want to change that range too much and make council get a little nervous going, wait a minute, why are these ranges so big? We like keeping the ranges small. So you also kind of have a little bit of a tighter fit on that. Because that was a discussion. Do we just fix it to where we at least have a 2-year play? We don't have to keep bringing it. But I think that's actually the whole point to it is so you guys can reevaluate it every year.
And I did email my working copy so you can see the changes. I did email those to you all just now.
See, that's why Leah's here.
All right, moving on to 06-2022. An ordinance allocating funding for construction and improvements of the village amphitheater project and declaring an emergency. This is just a second reading. We're not looking to pass it tonight. We are looking to declare it as an emergency when we do pass it. Mayor Hughes, justification for that.
Eric Fisher, justification for all of the above. I mean, I know the answers, but he's going to have a much better answer than I am.
That's fine.
So, thank you, Mayor. So obviously we're getting to the point of being able to handle our amphitheater project. This is something that council's reviewed before, and we've talked a little bit about at different work sessions. We have an application in with the state. There is a timing issue to get that handled. This particular ordinance, if you'll note, has an if-then statement in it. Basically, this is related to our ordinance that's going to come to you concerning the larger ask of funding a number of different projects, which includes the community building. It will include the lake. It will include a bunch of minor stuff, including compared to those prices, which includes this amphitheater. We have to be able to show the state that council is agreeable to segregating the money into a single point so that it's simply a reimbursement, so that they say, okay, we've got, as an example, we'll just use 100 grand. It's not what that is, but say it's 100 grand. The state says, great, we'll reimburse you 50%, which is what this is. And they're going to go ahead and pay us as we spend out and we request the reimbursement. So we have to tell them we've got the money in order to get the money. So it's basically what it is. I'll take any questions on that.
Okay, so to paraphrase that, we have to show to the state that we've already appropriated the money and it's sitting there before they will match it.
Makes sense.
All right, any questions or comments on that? Okay, moving down to 2022-07. This is the pool, guys. Are we waiving readings on this? Let me check the little dates at the bottom. This would be a third reading, no need to waive. There is a request here from admin that we pass as an emergency. so that we can begin early sales of pool passes. The only question I have, and it's probably there and I didn't see it. Yep, never mind. There's the early bird. I'm good.
Wait, why are
That's
we
all I was
passing
looking
it?
for.
Why are we passing it as an emergency if it's a third reading is my question.
So if we don't do it as, so if we don't do it as an emergency, we actually can't start selling memberships until after 30 days from today, which
Gotcha.
limits people to being able to purchase their memberships down to the wire. Not the wire. I mean,
Okay.
it would put us to April 24th, giving people only 30 days to come up with the money, to pay it, to know. Technically, we really, I don't even know if we can advertise. I don't know exactly what we can do, but doing it this way, we can start getting the membership prices, the flyer, we can start getting all of that stuff put on the website. Our plan is, we actually discussed it today. Our plan is to start taking payments on April 4th. And we actually picked April 4th. We were going to do April 1st, but since that falls on a Friday, that just, then you have all this paperwork coming in on Friday and everybody leaves for 3 days. And we just thought Monday would be great. It gives us a couple extra days to be able to get the point and pay up and running and the pool software up and running. Get everything uploaded to the website, check for errors, because, you know, I'm just gonna be honest, sometimes we put them up there and it still has, it takes a couple little, a little tweaks to it. So it just gives us a little bit of time. We would really like to start selling them on April 4th because that gives our residents time to make their payments and get the money in there and have time to stop in, and, you know, it gives us time to work out some kinks. Other than that, we cannot do it until April 24th.
Okay, as long as we say that, I think that sounds fine.
Yes.
Okay, anyone else with any questions on that? Okay, moving on to 2022-08. Approving the appointment of a fiscal officer and declaring an emergency so the fiscal officer position may be filled without interruption. I like that we have, and it looks like you're gonna need a third reading waived on this one as well. And this is, what's his name?
Jeff Wilczek.
Thank you. There we go. Jeffrey Wilczek.
And I
And this
believe
is
he
so he
takes
can take
care of-
over right away and not have a interruption of duties.
And there should be adjustments to where it says part-time now, not full-time. You pointed that out last time, and I do believe those were fixed.
Yes, as a part-time fiscal officer with an annual salary of 45.
Beautiful.
Questions or comments? All right, moving on. Clock is ticking there. 2022-09, a resolution to amend and revise the Minerva Park fee schedule and to declare an emergency so that the fee schedule may reflect current practice. Eric, if you really want to talk about it, you can. It looks like our right-of-way permits going up. We've talked about that before. It costs us more to do those survey stuff than we're charging for it. And record retrieval, I assume, is also going up just because it costs more money to do
Okay.
that as well.
So that, I think we are still looking for some insight from council, and we would really like to get that resolved. I think this one's only second reading, and I think we are doing 3 readings on this one, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that one, we really are looking for some insight. It's 20, and Leah's on here. So I know it's $27 for each retrieval or the delivery for 1 box. So if somebody comes in and does a public records request, it's $27. Plus there is a fee to actually pull it from the shelves. And then there is actually a gas fee. So, and I don't remember if it's $27 each way or not. I believe it is. Don't quote me on that. Maybe Leah could answer that. But we've had a couple public records requests, and that has really upped our cost for going and getting these. It's a different company than we used to have. I believe it was bought out by somebody else recently. So the fees have gone
Vital
up.
Records Control.
So it's gone up significantly, and, you know, we're not trying by any stretch of any imagination to slow people down from public records requests. It's just a fee. I mean, it's a fee that we have to take. And unfortunately, we do not have a facility that we can house these things in. Again, once we get the new facility building, we do hope to house all or most of the boxes at the building. But at
Okay,
this
so-
time, we don't have anywhere, and it is a cost that we have reached out to legal, and we are able to do that. So this, again, I'm just gonna say, this is something we've put together because we have seen the bill, go up drastically over the last 2 months. We're bringing it to you guys. We had kind of talked about, do we give, not, I don't want to say, if somebody wants a record, they deserve the record, they can have the record. But if somebody comes in and they just want one a year, is that something we absorb the cost? So we had gone back and forth. We talked about, if somebody comes in and there's one, maybe we waive the fee or this or that. Like, again, it's a discussion for you guys. I mean, I'm not giving my view on it. It's, do you guys want to charge for it? Because it's a fee that we weren't necessarily expecting, and it's a fee that has gotten pretty extreme this year.
So when you say pretty extreme, can you put a number on that, or at least a ballpark? I mean, are we talking $500 or?
So typically when we
$2,000?
have, I think, I'm sorry, Leah, let me jump in and then I'll jump to you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think when we have a standard, like when someone comes in with a standard public records request, right? Because these are older records, right? So, and the village doesn't have at this time, a records management system where everything's scanned in from the last 70 years, right? It doesn't, that's a different investment, a different discussion with council. So right now we have to maintain certain records over the course of time per our public records, schedule, and they're kept in cold storage until which time they're requested. Now, every time they get requested, we get a large fee. It's not like where someone comes in, hey, can I have a copy of that? And it's 10 cents a copy or 25 cents a copy or whatever, right? So I think the issue is that, and I'll jump to Leah, but I think we've tried to be fair about the request. I don't know that we can waive fees, quite frankly. That's a different discussion for legal counsel. I think we have to set it as a specific fee whenever someone requests something, but I think it's fair to say the village eats some of the cost, and the resident who really wants the record, or non-resident, because it can be anyone of the public, also has to share in the cost, because that's a fair recoverable public cost that we're asking back. So I think that's where we're at with it. Leah, what do you want to jump in on?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I do have the exact price of the fees. So it's a $27.71 delivery fee. That is each way. And it's $3.75 per box. So every time they retrieve a box, it's $3.75. So that is going to be each time they remove a box and refile a box. So that's $31.46 each time.
$375.
Say that again.
Is that $3.75 or $375?
$3.75.
Okay, that makes a big chunk of
Not,
a difference.
not
Yeah.
per box, right? There's still, what's the total
Per-
cost?
Per box. Every time they retrieve a box for us, it's $3.75.
And they ship
That's
it over?
that's
and
new.
still- So it's only $3.75?
Plus
No, the
20
shipping
And
is
plus a
$54.
$27.70, yeah, plus a $27.71 delivery fee.
Perfect.
And then you pay that again when they return it.
So we've got double that and $3.75.
Yeah, so $31.46 each way.
So
And those are some new fees.
Those can add up fast, as we've seen recently.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we need to probably discuss in more detail. My only concern at this point is if we waive the fee, just from a medical record standpoint, it's really hard to keep track of whose fees you're waiving and whose fees you're not waiving.
exactly.
So I also
I don't think we can
that's
waive,
like-
I don't think we can waive the fees, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you can't
I
make
would love to,
exceptions to that.
but we just need to figure out something before we kind of make these, assumptions,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's just gonna be impossible to keep track of everything.
So I think
I
go ahead.
am maybe of the opinion, because we don't have a work session between now and then either. Do we have a work session between now and the 14th?
That's
we
Saturday
do.
before.
Okay, then we can keep it in. I would really want to go over this at a work session. I know it sounds like it's ridiculously expensive, and it is. I can't believe that, but what are you going to do? I am not entirely comfortable with the idea of public records requests being dependent on me hawking over $30. That's
Yeah.
just I understand why. I understand the phrase, it's a reasonable government charge to get back money that the government's spending. It doesn't, at least right now, it does not sit well with me.
I think
that I
the way
want,
that-
I want to get this information. Well, okay, it's gonna cost you $30. Well, aren't I just entitled to it?
So I'm going to point out a couple different things. A majority of the documents can be retrieved easily, and we do have a lot of that information online. These are requests of people that are searching for stuff for 10, and I'm not saying it's not valid, 10, 15 years ago.
Mhm.
So, I think the hard part is, and, I don't want to imply, and I won't imply that it's because of one person, two people, three people. It's unfortunate that it's become an issue because we have had an increase of extremely old documents. And again, this is just something that the village doesn't,
Mhm.
it's a large cost to the village for 1, 2, 3, 4 people coming in and getting documents from a really long time
We
ago.
have 5 minutes before the next,
for it.
so I'm gonna say, let's talk about this at work session. It's the
Yeah.
second
Okay.
reading and we can move on. On to resolution 2022-10, declaring the necessary for a renewal levy of a tax exceeding the 10 mil limitation, and requesting that the Franklin County Auditor certify this, blah, 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 blah. I don't need to read it all. We're in committee. And to declare an emergency in order to meet ballot deadlines. This, we're gonna look to waive the third reading and declare an emergency because we need to get it to the county auditor so it can get on the ballot.
We are just requesting, we are requesting the numbers right now from the county at this
So
point.
this isn't even getting it on the ballot. This is just requesting what the numbers would be.
Just requesting the rates from the county, yes.
So not even any of that. We need to, yeah, okay, we've all, and for those of you who haven't, the county sometimes goes and starts in spots and no, don't give it to it yet. Don't, it's too early. No, we need it now. We need it right now. Now's where you need to give it to us. And so that's, unless anyone has anything to say about that, I think we will move on to our last thing here. A resolution to reject all bids for the renovation and addition of the Murray Park Community Building and declare an emergency for the public welfare in order to talk to the bidders. We didn't get any serious decent bids. The one bid we did get, or if there was more than one, I think there was the little thermostat bid and the big ridiculous bid. Officially say no, go away, declare an emergency and be done with it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that allows us to rebid everything legally. So that's why we need that done.
So any questions or comments on that? All right, Mayor, are you gonna be starting the new
Yes.
Zoom? So we do need to all log off. Real quick, anyone with anything last minute for this committee meeting? All right, I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I see you guys in 2.5 minutes.